And welcome back to another tutorial. We're going to be looking at Weldments today. Weldments are an extremely powerful tool to use, and they speed up production of models. There's a lot of benefits to using them. It creates functionality to allow you to create a structure as a single multi-body part. So instead of creating all the various elements, so in this we've got a kind of table frame and a leg, so there's 8 parts in that. It's let me create it all in one part, which can be advantageous. So the kind of basic essence is that you can use 2D and 3D sketches to define your basic model, and then from that model you can create structural members which contain groups of sketch segments. And then you can also add additional features such as gussets and end caps, especially if you're working with steel or with kind of timber. You would tend to use weldments to create your models. Okay, so we'll dive straight in about how to first create your initial weldment profile. The end goal is basically to create this really basic table. It's only using 2 different weldments, and then just an extrude on the top for the tabletop. Okay, so first off we're going to go File, New, and then Part, and we are going to create our first weldment profile. So what we need to do is we need to sketch a profile. So you need to know what the overall dimensions of, in this case, timber would be. So I need to create a 4" by 4" post, or a 95mm by 95mm planed post. So we are going to create a rectangle and then roughly drag it out to 95 by 95, and then we're just going to dimension this up so it's fully defined. So we've got this there at 95 by 95, and if we leave that there, that's going to create a 90-degree post when it's used as a weldment. What I want to do is I want to add a couple of sketch fillets onto this because I want it to be rounded. So I'm going to add a 5mm round onto all of the 4 corners. And that means then is when we create the table leg, it's going to give it a really nice eased edged. So we've got that there. Now the key thing to realise with weldment profiles is when you create them, the origin, shown here, is the initial pierce point. So whenever you select your weldment and select your sketch profile for the weldment to use, it's always going to default to the origin. And in quite a lot of cases, you don't want it to default to that origin. If you're using, say, circular hollow section in steel, you may want it to be on one of the edges. So what we do is we add some more control points. So you simply select point from the sketch toolbar, and you've already got it defined there at the top left, top right, bottom left and bottom right. You've also got it defined in the origin. So the key points where you'll want to add a control point will be, say, centre left, centre right, and top centre and bottom centre. So now you've basically got 9 control points where you can manipulate this weldment profile on your sketch. So we will exit the sketch and we can see our profile there, we can see the points. So what we'll do now is we need to save this weldment. So this is where it's ever so slightly tricky, or not tricky, it's just a bit, time consuming really to save the profile. First off, you must click on the sketch in the feature manager tree. So you just click on it there, it will highlight it with whatever dimensions you've got and all the entities in that sketch. And from there you will have to go on File and then Save As. So don't forget, click on Sketch, File, Save As, and then from in there you need to navigate to the file type, and that will be a library feature part. So you click on that, and then by default it will take you to a folder, the Solidworks 2017 one. What you need to do is you need to navigate back to C drive, and for me it's within Program Files, and then it is in Solidworks, and Solidworks again, and then we have to go to Lang English, and then Weldment Profiles, and then I've got a folder in there for all my weldments under General. So click on General, and then click on Timber, and then there it is. So I am creating the 95 by 95 timber feature. Now I don't need to save that because I've already got it there, but it's key to show you how you create the Weldment profiles. So you click on save, and then it's in there. What you have to do is you have to set up your weldments so it reads from that folder. So if you need to get it set up, what you're better off doing is basically going on the Solidworks help for Weldments, creating a custom profile, and then you can see the actual location where you need to save it. So what you need to do is click on Weldments, structural member. That's always what you need to click on to create a weldment. And you can see mine has general from that folder that we had in Explorer. Type, I want it to be a timber type. And then the size, you can see all the sizes I've got and that I've all drawn up. And we can see there at the top is a 95 by 95 one. So now we've created the Weldment profile, we need to now create our table. So what we're going to do is File, New Part, and then we're going to go on Top Plane, and we're going to create quite a big table. So you just create the sketch, and we're going to do it at 1200 wide by 2400 long, or approximately 8 foot by 4 foot if you use an imperial. So we can extend that out, and then all you have to do is just exit the sketch. So all you've done is you're left with the 2D sketch on the top plane. And what we're going to do now is create the weldment. So you click on structural member, and then as long as you've got it set up, it will drive you to the general folder or your folder that you create, timber, and then 95 by 95. Now that is going to be very thick for a tabletop. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use 4x2 east edge timber, which is one that I've created previously. So all you do then is, as soon as you've got your timber that you want to use, you click on new group, and then the new group will basically consist of a collection of segments within that structural member. So we've got this sketch here. So you've got a couple of options. You can expand that, click on sketch, and it will force your 4x2 profile all the way around, and you can see all those lines are all defined in the path segments. Or if you don't want to do that, you can click on new group, and you can just click on, say, 2 lines there, especially if another part of the sketch, the same sketch, is going to be a different timber profile. For us, they're all going to be the same, so we can just click on activate the path segments again, and then click on those. I don't know why it's not working actually. Clear selections, new group, and then click on all 4. There we go. I don't know why it wasn't picking that up first. And you can see that by default it is using the origin as the driving force for the weldment. Now we know that this sketch here is 2400 by 1200, and what we want to do is we want to make sure that the table is no bigger than that. So we scroll down in the feature manager to locate profile, and we click on that, and then what we can do is we can select one of the control points. So we could use the left middle one, top left, or the bottom left one, and we know that if we click on any one of those, so I'll click on that one there, it's going to pull the Weldment profile to within that sketch. So we'll click OK, and you can now see that our initial sketch, which is here, is the outer parameter for that table. And straight away we've created a tabletop, and it's also gave us mitered joints. Now if you want to change the joints, you go back onto edit feature, and you've got different corners, so you can have just a half butted joint, or a butt joint, sorry, and you can vary which way the corners go. Now you may want to have more control over that, so you can then click on the pink dot, and then a little pop-up comes out, and then you can specify if you want it to be the first end butt or the second end butt, or you could have a mitre. If you click OK on that and then click OK on this, so this corner here is a mitre, however this corner here is a butt joint, and then you can see that it overlaps here. Okay, so we've created our frame, which is really quick, and that is going to just take the piece of ply on the top, but we need to create some legs. So a really good way of creating weldments is by using 3D sketches. They give you a lot more flexibility instead of using planes, etc. So we're going to go on 3D sketch, line, and I'm just going to drag a leg down there, roughly in the position where this corner is here. It doesn't matter if it's not anywhere near, because we're going to define it anyway. So I'm going to click on that line and then click on the edge here, make it collinear. You can see it's jumped up, and then I'm going to click on this point here and then click on that bottom face there, click on that point, and I'm going to make on plane, so it's butting right up to underneath of this table frame, and then the overall height of that leg I'm going to make is 700mm. So we've clicked that, we've got our leg defined right in that corner, and what I'm going to do now is exit that sketch, Weldment, structural member, timber again, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the 95 by 95, so it's going to have a 4-inch leg, which is the sketch that we created. So click on that, new group, and then click on that sketch, and you can see again by default it's using the origin of that weldment sketch. So we don't want that, we want to have a bit more control over where we position the leg. So what do? We go to locate profile, and on this one we click on the almost the bottom left there, and you can see that it drags the weldment to where we need it, or positions the weldment to where we need it. I could have it there, but obviously it would mean that it would be floating. So I'm just going to rejig it so it's there, and then we're just going to click OK, and we've got a leg. Now I know that the leg isn't rebaited to take that tabletop frame. This is just an extremely quick basic overview of how weldments work. Now what you can do is you can create the 4 lines, the 4 sketches there. It's no issue. All I want to show you though is that you can mirror basically the weldment. So I'm going to weld this body, I'm going to mirror this body. You always have to use bodies, you can't use the feature, because it actually creates a multi-body part. So you have to use the bodies to mirror. So I'm going to click OK on the right plane, and then I'm going to mirror again on the front plane, and then I'm going to select these 2 bodies, click OK, and we have our table. Very basic, but does the job. Now I'm going to put a tabletop on it. So very quickly, just going to click on the top there, click sketch, going to select our very first sketch, which is a 24 by 1200. Click on convert entities, features extrude, and we're going to do that at 19mm or 3/4 of an inch. Click OK, and there we go. We have a table. It's extremely basic, but that is a very brief introduction into the weldments. I hope you've enjoyed that tutorial. I hope that it's taught you the kind of basic principles of weldments. So if you like the video, hit that like button. If you want to see some more, click on the subscribe, and I will see you soon.